Alrighty, we are back with shortstop rankings for 2026. It is well into February and spring training has officially started. Um, we've done up to third base to this point. We're going to get into shortstop now. And I'm going to start out with tier one. With tier one, I do just have two players in that tier, Bobby Witt and Ellie De La Cruz. With Bobby Witt, super high upside play, obviously, going to be drafted early in the first round. 38 stolen bases last season, 23 home runs, 99 runs, 88 RBIs, 295 batting average, and a 351 on base percentage. And he was awesome last year. He definitely has had years where he was better. If we go to his Baseball Savant page here, stole 49 bases in 2023. And then in 24, he did go 30-30 with a 389 on base percentage. But overall, I don't mind him as far as first round value. Maybe like the fifth or sixth pick, I would be willing to go. On average, he's going around 3. Now, these are roto leagues in the NFBC, and that's fair just because he has the home run and stolen base upside. He's pretty much a five category contributor, so that's not surprising that he's going that high in those types of leagues. In a points league, he probably drops a little bit just because he is not going to have like the 40-50 home run power. But in a roto league, he's a great asset. The shortstop position also is pretty deep, so that's another thing to consider when drafting Bobby Witt early, because if you take a shortstop with your first pick or second pick even, you could end up regretting that later on when there's a bunch of shortstops sitting there on the board that you can't necessarily draft. And then number 2, I do have Ellie De La Cruz. Pretty straightforward. Similar to Bobby Witt, 22 home runs, 37 stolen bases. Pretty much same runs, same RBIs. You're going to get a lower batting average and a lower on-base percentage, which is why he drops a little bit in fantasy at least. If we go to his average draft position, he's going around 8 on average, and I don't mind that pick at all. If we go to his StatCast page here, nothing crazy stands out besides sprint speed. He's going to steal a bunch of bases. Stole 67 in 2024, so there is high upside as far as stolen bases goes, but I don't know if he can get to like 30 home runs. Obviously, he hit 25 in 2024, and he still is only 24 years old. So things can improve. He can make changes, but I wouldn't count on like a 30 home run season. Although not a bad pick at all in the first round. I would be okay with him. I'd be okay with him around pick 8 in a roto league. In a points league, he probably is going to drop down little ways, but great roto style player. All right, then we'll move to tier 2. If I can find it here quick. Bunch of guys in tier 2 for me at least. Francisco Lindor would have been in tier 1, but with the injury, he moves down to tier 2. So I have Gunnar Henderson, Trey Turner, Lindor, Zach Neto, and Perdomo in this tier, who Geraldo Perdomo was the number 1 player as far as points goes in a points league at the shortstop position in 2025. So had a really, really great season, 20 home runs, 27 stolen bases. I don't know if he can repeat that. That's why he's down here at spot 7. But going back to the top, I have Gunnar Henderson at 3, 17 home runs, 30 stolen bases, 85 runs, 68 RBIs, decent on base percentage. I just expect the home runs to to increase in 2026. He said that he was dealing with an injury pretty much all of 2025. So I can see his home runs increasing. He hit 28 and 37 the past 2 years in 23 and 24, and then that dropped to 17. I think that rebounds back to 20 to 25 home runs pretty easily, and if he can still keep up as far as stolen base goes, he's pretty much, if he gets back to 25 to 30 home runs, he's pretty much just Elly De La Cruz, probably with a little less speed. So I can see that happening realistically for Gunnar Henderson. And then at the second spot, I do have Trey Turner. Last season, 15 home runs, 36 stolen bases, high runs, and a great average and on-base percentage. Really, really high average player, 304 batting average in 2025. And I think he can repeat somewhat close to that. He probably outperformed or overperformed his average, but he's done it the past 2 seasons now, 295 in 2024, 304 in 2025. So I would expect that to stay relatively close to like the 290 average mark. Not going to be a huge source in power. His average exit velocity, his hard hit percentage has taken a hit over the past couple of years, but 100 percentile in sprint speed and did steal 36 bases last year. So I think that could continue. Realistically, I could see a 15 home run, 30 stolen bases again, possibly even more power. He did hit 21 home runs in 2024, so I wouldn't be too shocked if it's somewhere between 15 and 20 home runs for Trey Turner. And at 5, because of the hamate bone injury, I do have Francisco Lindor. Last year, 31-31 stolen bases and home runs. Huge source in runs and RBIs too. Relatively okay batting average and on-base percentage. So I wouldn't be not really that concerned with Francisco Lindor. It's just that I don't know if he's going to start the season on the injured list. StatCast really doesn't like Lindor, but he's produced 30-30 for the past several seasons. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think on average, he's definitely fallen down in the past couple weeks. So he's down here actually above Trey Turner, barely, but at pick 25 on average. This is over 53 drafts in the past week and a half, where he's one spot above Trey Turner. And then number 6 on my rankings, same tier 2. I do have Zach Neto, 26-26 last year, home runs, stolen bases. Not going to be huge RBI guy batting at the top of the order for the Angels, but 82 runs, which is pretty solid from shortstop. Slightly lower average on base percentage, 257 average, 319 on base percentage. But I think he'll be there with the home runs and stolen bases. If we look at his StatCast here, stole 30 bases in 2024, then 26. And power seems to be there for him. He's kind of on the smaller side, but he's hit for power the past 2 seasons. And the average exit velocity, hard hit percentage are both well above average. And he actually looks like he slightly underperformed probably his on-base percentage. xWOBA was 344, which is a nice mark for Zach Neto. If he could get his on-base percentage up and go 25-25, it's another great option at the shortstop position. And you're definitely getting a little bit of a discount with him. He is going at pick 28 on average. And then in this same tier, I do have Perdomo, who last year really kind of overperformed, but he obviously has it in him. 100 RBIs, 98 runs, solid batting average, and a great on-base percentage. He's definitely falling a ton in drafts. We can look here just at his StatCast page. There's some things that are great and some things that are not so great. Really had a huge breakout year in 2025, but he is only 26 years old. Hard hit and average exit velo are not great, well below average. But there's also a ton of other positives to his game. Squares the ball up a ton, doesn't really chase at many pitches, and doesn't strike out too much at all. 95th percentile in strikeout percentage. And then he's also probably going to just be a great average and on-base percentage player. So in a roto league, that definitely can help your average or on-base percentage, whichever you play. Realistically, I would probably expect like a 15 home run, 20 to 25 stolen base player. Probably runs and RBIs will come down slightly, but I don't think the fall for him will be too drastic. And he is going at 74th off the board. So shortstop 9th, below Mookie Betts and CJ Abrams, who are in my next tier. And I think it's a great value. Obviously, there's going to be probably some regression, but I still could see Perdomo performing pretty well in 2026. All right, tier 3 is a little shorter than tier 2. 4 guys: CJ Abrams, Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, and Bo Bichette in tier 3. I think the one player that really stands out is, so CJ Abrams could definitely make a leap if he could get his average and on-base percentage to grow. But I'm really not expecting it. Last year, 19 home runs, 31 stolen bases. He's going to produce a ton of runs because he's going to bat leadoff for the Nationals. But if we take a look at his StatCast page here, it really does not like him. Sprint speed's only in the 70th percentile, but he has shown that he can steal at least 30 bases the past 3 seasons. All of his home runs are pretty much to the pull side, which probably is why he can generate power as a left-handed batter, just pulling the ball. But on-base percentage past 3 seasons has been slightly above 300, and batting average last season was 257, which was his career best. So I wouldn't expect that to change much. But again, I'll say this for a couple players. He is only 25 years old. Things can definitely improve. And if he does, I think he could definitely take a step up. Like a 20 homer, 40 stolen base season is not out of the question. And if he increases his average and on base percentage, he could be a pretty great player in fantasy baseball. On average, he is drafted 8th at the position, 61st overall. So even still behind Mookie Betts, who I've not got to yet. But pretty good discount for a player who could produce a ton. I actually think he's almost better in a points league just because he will steal bases, but the average and the on-base percentage can really kill you in certain spots. All right, and then at 9 and 10, I really feel like Mookie Betts and Corey Seager are pretty much the same. There's definitely injury risk and concern for both. Seager is going to have a much better on-base percentage and probably a better batting average than Mookie Betts, but there's still some speed upside for Mookie Betts, and he'll probably score more runs and drive in more guys than Corey Seager just because of the Dodgers lineup. But I view them as as relatively the same player. Both injury history and probably nearing the decline, although Mookie Betts did play really well down the stretch last season, and still can hit the ball relatively hard. But will be 33 years old, and it's definitely come down a lot from like his 2023 mark, 39 home runs. People still really like him though, being drafted 54th off the board. I think the reason is because he's a Dodger and will score a ton of runs and drive in a bunch of guys. So I can totally understand that. Corey Seager, you're getting a huge discount down here, 92 overall, 12th shortstop off the board. And I think that's just because he can't stay healthy. But if he can stay healthy, he hits the ball really, really hard. Won't provide any stolen bases, but great on base percentage and can easily hit 30 home runs. So if he can stay healthy, he's easily a 30 home run guy. And then at 11, I do have Bo Bichette here, just because he's going to provide a ton of RBIs, ton of runs. Not a huge contributor in stolen bases or home runs, but also last year hit 311 with a 357 on base percentage. And if we go here and look at his underlying metrics, pretty solid. Ton of red. Average exit velocities, 72nd percentile, 83rd percentile in hard hit percentage. Really does not whiff at all or strike out, which is why he has such a high batting average. I think if the batting average stays, he'll be a huge standout in that, and then we'll give you some home runs, RBIs, and runs, and that's useful for sure in a ton of leagues. If we go to see where he's being drafted, it is down here at 11th at the shortstop position, 90th off the board. So down here with Corey Seager, I probably like Corey Seager the most out of this tier just because it's such a big discount. And when he's on the field, he should be he's pretty much a 4-category guy. Besides, obviously, stolen bases, he's pretty much a 0. But other than that, it's going to be a solid 4 categories from Corey Seager. All right, tier 4, another four players here. Some kind of similar players, like older veteran players besides Jeremy Pena. I do have him in here, Willie Adames, Trevor Story, and Dansby Swanson. I feel like Adames, Story, and Swanson are all relatively the same. There's things that are slightly better or worse for each guy. Story just can't stay healthy. He did last year, which is why he produced so much, as you can see on the screen here. But I probably would prefer Willie Adames out of this group. I think there's still some room for improvement. If we go to his StatCast here. Had a really good season last year. 30 home runs, 12 stolen bases, kind of out of nowhere. And in 2024, he did the same, 32 home runs, 21 stolen bases, kind of like an under-the-radar type player. And nothing really like crazy stands out for him. But I think he's a solid option at the shortstop position. He's going 14th off the board at 122. Jeremy Pena, Trevor Story are both above him here. I feel like people are drafting Jeremy Pena in hopes that he takes the next step, but nothing really points to that. I don't think. I definitely think he can steal more bases. I can see him stealing 25, 30 bases potentially, but he hasn't done it before, and then the power is probably not going to really be there. He also probably overperformed his batting average from 2025. expected was 270, and he hit 304. Previous 2 seasons were in the 260s, so I think that regresses slightly. But I could see why you like Jeremy Pena. And then Dansby Swanson on here, he's just a solid option. 24-20 last year, bunch of runs, bunch of RBIs, and is in a pretty good Cubs lineup. The average and on-base percentage are going to be not elite marks, but it's a solid middle infielder in deep leagues. And then for Tier 5, I got 4 more guys. Jacob Wilson, I don't think I've went over yet. Last year, 13 home runs, 5 stolen bases. Great batting average and a pretty good on-base percentage. I think that he kind of overperformed that, though. Let's look here. Plays in a really, really hitter-friendly ballpark, but yeah, expected 277 XBA, hit 311. So I think that comes down, and there's probably not a lot of power in his profile. I did hit 13 home runs, but average exit velocity is in the 1st percentile, hard hit percentage is in the 2nd percentile. Bat speed's also in the 1st. And surprisingly for someone who looks like they could steal bases, below average sprint speed and only stole 5 in 2025. So you can't really count on that. Doesn't strike out at all, though. So great eye at the plate, but you're not getting much other than average and probably runs. I expect the Athletics lineup to be pretty good going into 2026. Xavier Edwards, I went over on the second base position preview, so you can go over there to look at Edwards. And then I have 2 young guys to round out Tier 5, JJ Weatherholt and Colson Montgomery. Weatherholt, these are his statistics from, I believe, AA and AAA last season. 17 home runs, 23 stolen bases. Great average, great on-base percentage, but again, it was not in the majors. I think he will make the opening day roster for the Cardinals, and he should bat pretty high in the lineup. They really don't have many players that will outproduce him as far as hitting goes. So he should be up in the bigs soon. That's why I have him at 18 here. He performed really well in the minors. And then Montgomery is pretty much all power. He's a very interesting profile because he strikes out a ton, hits for power, and did have a decent on-base percentage, 311, but I think that can improve a little bit. His expected was, ex-WOBA was 341 last season, but he did not qualify for a couple of these. He only had 255 at-bats. So, I mean, 71 games and hit 21 home runs, which is pretty impressive. In a points league, he's a great option. Roto league, probably not the best option just because he's going to have a low average and he will hit for power, but he's a 0 in stolen bases. So depending on what league type you're in, he could be a solid pick, but also could be kind of a bust. So this ADP is based on Roto type leagues. His ADP is 214 in the past week and a half-ish. He's the 22nd shortstop off the board. So people are definitely a little skeptical of Colson Montgomery. And then last tier here is a big one. A bunch of names. We went over a couple of these guys in previous positions. I believe Bogarts and Otto Lopez in the second base preview. But getting down to a couple of guys that are interesting here late. Connor Griffin, Kevin McGonigal, both minor league players in 2025. So these are their minor league statistics, but should be up relatively soon, if not on opening day, for the Pirates and the Tigers. Don't have StatCast data from them, but Griffin could be a huge source of power and stolen base and bat high in the Pirates lineup. So I'm actually pretty excited for him. Even in redraft leagues, he might not be a bad option at the shortstop position. And if we go here, he's definitely skyrocketing up boards. Down here at 18 off the board at 186. So there's a lot of people are getting pretty excited for Connor Griffin. Not so much McGonigal, 27th down here at 288, but I think he could be up for the Tigers too, and he could be a pretty good bat for them. So if you're sitting down here, the question is, like, you probably already have your shortstop in the top, like, 12. So if you're down here, you have Weatherholt, Connor Griffin, Colson Montgomery. There's a bunch of young prospects that could either make the opening day roster or be up relatively soon. So I don't mind taking a shot on any of them. If I had to rank them, it's probably Weatherholt first, then Montgomery, then Griffin, and then McGonigal. Although if Connor Griffin makes the opening day roster, we could be looking at a player who could take off in 2026. And then I do have Mason Wynn down here, still relatively young. Battled through some injury last year, but there's still some aspects to his game that I do like. So we go to Mason Wynn here. Hitting, not awesome as far as like average exit velo, hard hit percentage, but should be able to steal a ton of bases. Stole 11 and 24, 77th percentile in sprint speed, and I think in a full season he should be able to steal like 15 to 20 bases. Pulls all of his home runs, so he is only 23 though. Things can change, and he can obviously develop bat speed, more power. But I wouldn't necessarily count on it. I would be looking to take Griffin or McGonigal over a guy like Mason Wynn. But in a deep league, you could definitely take a flyer on a guy like Mason Wynn. That pretty much wraps up the shortstop rankings. They will probably be on my Twitter as well. So in the top left here, you can see both my Twitter pages. I'll be doing fantasy sports and then obviously betting as well. So make sure to go check those out. And that wraps up the shortstop position for 2026.